if I could pick one group that I would like to read this book, it would be the warrior from Vietnam. American Marines, American soldiers, Vietnamese Marines, and Vietnamese soldiers. This book affirms their service, and I hope they'll come away feeling like what they did mattered in a positive way.
Well, okay, Richard Botkin, thanks for being on the Savage Nation.
Michael, thanks so much for allowing me on your show. God bless, Semper Fi, and again, thanks to all of our warriors who serve faithfully.
This is the Savage Nation. I'll be back.
Hi, it's Roger Hitchcock. Join me evenings starting at 7, right after Savage on Talk 910 KNEW.
The mainstream, midstream media is reporting that, quote, club-wielding Israeli police are evicting Palestinians from homes in Jerusalem. Of course, they're not giving any background in the story or any real facts at all. Joining us from Jerusalem is Aaron Klein, the report on what is really happening in Israel.
Thanks, Michael. I'm in Jerusalem right now at an area that happens to be not far from a certain house that is at the center of world attention, at the center of American condemnation, and actually at the center of lies being disseminated by the world media. Now, if you watch the BBC, if you watch CNN, if you read the New York Times, you're being told this story of club-wielding Israeli police who removed a few Arabs from a house in what they're calling occupied Arab East Jerusalem the other day. For example, the BBC reports, quote, Palestinians evicted from Jerusalem, and it tells about Israeli police wielding clubs who evicted 9 Palestinian families living in 2 houses in, quote, occupied East Jerusalem. The AFP, which we know millions of people read, talks of a scene of intimidating Israeli riot police removing peaceful Arabs from their apartments. Reuters, which is a major news organization, reported that, quote, club-wielding Israeli police evicted 2 Palestinian families from occupied Arab East Jerusalem. And a lot of these news reports, and by the way, I scanned about 80 articles, they're focusing on the Israelis who removed the Arabs from their home, focusing on the international condemnation that that move brought, but they're not really telling you exactly why these Arabs were kicked out from their homes. Except usually at the bottom of most of the articles that I read, there's one sentence buried in there that tells you that an Israeli court ruled that Arabs should be removed from the homes. But they don't really tell you exactly why the Israeli court ruled the Arabs should be removed from the homes, except for Reuters, which claims wrongly, by the way, that the Israeli court system is, the Israeli court decision was based, quote, on 19th century documents. And anyway, this house happens to be in eastern sections of Jerusalem, in areas that the Palestinians claim for a capital, in areas that the Obama administration has demanded that Israel halt all settlement activity, which means Jewish construction.
Obviously, we're not going to hear the truth from the media. What is really happening?
The housing complex in question, the house that I'm talking about, is located in what's known as the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood of eastern Jerusalem. Now, this house, according to documents, was originally Jewish, but the Jewish occupants were chased out during anti-Jewish Arab riots in 1929. Now, in 1929, when these Arab riots took place, scores of Jews were murdered, and thousands of Jews were expelled from Jerusalem, were expelled from other areas of the country, including, apparently, from this very house. And then what happened? There was an Arab family. The family is the Hijazi family, and they illegally squatted on this house in question. They illegally moved into the area, into the house, and they've been living there generation after generation for almost a century now. Still, even though documentation shows the house used to be Jewish and the Arabs have been squatting there illegally, Jewish groups quietly, they say they legally purchased the property from the Hijazi family for, by the way, a large amount of money. Now, just to make sure that the Hijazi family will not deny that the purchase went through, the Jewish groups purchased the property on video. There's actual video of these Jewish organizations handing a large amount of cash to this family. There's video of this family signing documents over that the Jews own this property. Again, anyway, Israel's court system, which let me tell you is not exactly a friend of the right wing here here in Israel. They've ruled many times in favor of the Palestinians. Well, the Israeli court has twice now ruled that this property, this house in question, undoubtedly belongs to the Jews. And so the world now and the United States slammed Israel for simply enforcing property and zoning laws in its own capital.
But these stories describe the area as Arab-occupied East Jerusalem.
These terms, like occupied Arab East Jerusalem, completely fabricate the real situation in Jerusalem. Actually, according to the United Nations, according to international law, Eastern Jerusalem, which of course the Palestinians claim as a capital, even though they never ever had an entity there in the history of the universe, well, Eastern Jerusalem is not occupied according to international law. It's simply disputed. And saying that these areas are Arab East Jerusalem, actually, according to British documents, according to thorough British documentation, Jews used to outnumber Arabs in these areas as late as from the 1800s until the Jews were kicked out in 1929. And just a side note, by the way, this whole claim of calling this area East Jerusalem doesn't exist. There's never in the history of the city been something called East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem. Historically, there's one city. It's called Jerusalem. Then what happened was Jordan, right, when the Jews were about to found the state of Israel, Jordan illegally occupied the eastern sections of Jerusalem, including the Temple Mount. They desecrated synagogues there. They desecrated the Western Wall. They desecrated Jewish grave sites, and they occupied the area until Israel reunited Jerusalem in 1967.
What has the Obama administration said on this?
Now, the United States has absolutely weighed in here on Israel legally enforcing its own law in its own capital. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called the move, quote, deeply regrettable and provocative. She said, quote, I have said before that the evictions of families and demolitions of homes is not in keeping with Israeli obligations. I urge the government of Israel and municipal officials to refrain from such provocative actions, said Hillary Clinton. Provocative actions, that's right. I mean, can you imagine this taking place with regard to any other country? Let's say the United States, let's say the Washington, D.C. local municipality enforces its own local law and evicts somebody living illegally in somebody else's house, and then the world, and then Germany, Italy, Norway, the UN, the EU comes and condemns the United States, condemns the Washington municipality, and then dictates to Washington, D.C. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton slams Israel. Does sound a little bit racist. Anyway, I'm sure we'll continue to follow this story. For now, this is Aaron Klein with another exclusive update for the Savage Nation.
Thanks for getting the story out, Aaron.
Michael, thank you very much.
Thanks for being on the Savage Nation. Savage. The home of the Savage Nation in the belly o' the beast, San Francisco. Talk 910 KNEW and online at 910KNEW.com. Here are some of the things I've been talking about on the Savage Nation today. The Obamization of the United States of America. Have you had an Obama yet? Have you been Obamized? Have you watched the sycophantic left-wing gooing over the confirmation of Sotomayor? It was astounding to listen to that throwback Schumer saying that she's not going to be another vote or another voice. She'll be a leader that will lead the Supreme Court back to the mainstream. This far leftist Sotomayor, this affirmative action appointee, is going to take the country back to the mainstream as if all the others on the court are Ku Klux Klan members.
She's not just going to be another vote. She's not just going to be another voice. She's going to be a real leader that will lead this court back to the mainstream, which is what this country needs.
Shame on you, Schumer. You're a disgrace to yourself, to your people, but most importantly, you're a big shame to the United States of America. But we knew this was going to happen, and it finally did. The affirmative action Sonia Sotomayor pushed forward all through her life because of her gender and her race is now on the Supreme Court. Did it have to happen? No. Could the Republicans have stopped it if they had the guts? Maybe. Does it matter in the long run? No, because as I've told you time and time again, Sotomayor is just replacing another liberal who's leaving. Of course, the fact that a self-proclaimed affirmative action baby is being placed on the highest court in the land is not encouraging. She also hates gun owners. But given who we've got in the White House and what else he's trying to do to undermine America, here's Leaky Leahy crowing over his victory of this affirmative action appointee.
This is the American dream. It's a dream that we all speak about when we campaign. What we've done now has made it real.
And now you got to listen to Chuck Schumer, who just came out of the cloakroom where he sold someone the Brooklyn Bridge for nothing down.
As New Yorkers, we are so proud. As Americans, we're so proud. This is a great day, a great American story.